Morning, primary teachers. Welcome to today's National Day of Climate and Nature CPD. It's great to have you here.
Indeed, and hello from the northeast. I'm Meryl Batchelder.
And I'm Paul Turner. I'm down on the south coast. My background is geography, been involved in air pollution, air quality, kind of all environmental education, climate education. And Meryl, your specialism?
I am a trained secondary teacher in science, but I've taught in middle schools, which means I've done year five and year six as well. In general science. I span into primary.
Cool. And we've got some input as well from Hannah, who is our early years specialist as part of the Ministry of Eco-Education team. So what we've got is about 10, 15 minutes of what we're hoping going to be really direct, simple training for you to be able to inspire you to take some next steps. What we also wanted to do was just mention that at the end of last academic year, we hosted a great teacher celebration event, which really highlighted the wealth of knowledge, experience, people in the climate and nature education space. And we just wanted to emphasize how rich a tapestry that is. And I know, Meryl, you're really well connected with lots of the people and organizations happening as well.
Okay, are we ready to go?
We are. Let's go. So we wanted to start with the why. And the first why is from a moral imperative. We're all human beings. We all live on planet Earth. We're all part of society. What's going on in terms of the climate and nature crisis, Mel?
Okay, so we have got some serious issues, and these issues are going to impact young people more even than they're impacting people of my age. So we have an image here, and it shows the two sets of stripes. The top set of stripes, the blue to the red, are called the warming stripes. And Ed Hawkins from Reading University created these as a visual way to really, show the impact of what's happening with our climate. The blue stripe on the far left is around about 1970. The red stripe on the far right is it's about 50 years later. So approximately over my lifespan, this. And you can see it's gone from blue to, slightly into pinks and now into deep reds. The planet has warmed about 1.5 degrees already. 2024 was the warmest year on record. 2025 summer looks like it's probably the hottest in the UK. You can see that, you can feel the change in our classrooms as they get hotter and hotter. So young people who are entering year one now, or early years now, are being born in this really deep red zone. And now it's just going to get warmer until we stop burning fossil fuels, until we change our agricultural practice. It's going to get hotter. So young people need to be prepared for how to manage that heat and understand how we can help, how we can be part of the change. The bottom set of stripes are called the biodiversity stripes, set up by Miles Richardson, again from about 1970 to the present day. When I was born, it was a lush green and pleasant land, shall we say. And over the years, farming impacts, climate, pesticide use has meant our biodiversity has declined. And it's seriously declined. The latest data is really quite shocking. So again, young people born today are seeing a much greyer planet than they would have done 50 years ago. And I think these stripes just help us visualize how serious it is and what that trend is like.
Yeah, and we've got some warming stripes that we take to schools, and we've seen really great ways of using these in the classroom. And I really like that illustration as well over the top of it. Helps to
I know, it's like makes
communicate
it.
it to a younger audience, doesn't it? Yeah. So just in terms of people, if they wanted to di dive deeper into this, we've got Meryl's made these with Docu B series, which explores things like the state of the climate report, the state of nature report, and these are again quick snapshots to go even deeper into some of those numbers to understand what is happening to our planet now. The climate that you grew up in doesn't exist anymore.
And it's really, the science is really complicated. And so, the scientists have been talking about this for many years, but the science is complicated. And when you actually look at the data, so all I try and do is make it a little bit more simple to understand the big numbers, what they mean, and, what we can do to take action in schools.
And then, as Meryl referenced as well, we increasingly are getting these headlines. The Met Office just recently said that the summer is likely to be the warmest on record. That's one of a handful of kind of headlines from the Met Office that have come out over the summer. We've experienced that, we've felt it. It might be that the conversations you have with people is, oh, how great the summer was, but it's completely out of the norm, or it is our new norm in the sense that it's getting warmer and warmer, and that's something that we're all living with and experiencing, and we do understand.
Indeed.
And
So,
then
Yeah, so you know, people don't talk about it very much. And actually, when you do ask people, do you care? You know, do you want to take action? Internationally, the level is 80% of people want to take action, they want their governments to take action on climate to make the situation better. In the UK, it's over 86% of people. So whatever you see in the press that, oh, it's a no-no and the green transition isn't going to be affordable and all the rest of it, 86% in the UK want action on climate. So, you know, I think we're part of education is vital to make sure, you know, not only our students in our classrooms are aware of that everybody wants to take action, but also in our communities, in our wider school community, that
Mm.
we really, you know, that, and this was taken from the People's Climate Vote 2024, the world's biggest climate survey. So, you know, these are facts from the United Nations.
Yeah, and I think it's that sense of you might think that you're an outlier if you're taking action, but actually this is a really common attitude. You know, there is the Climate Majority Project, which is also communicating this sense that actually we do all agree this is the common attitude, but it's because we don't talk about it. We're not open about these sorts of things
And it's driving decision making. So 69% say that climate is impacting big decisions in their lives, you know, whether to not to have children. You know, if you think that the planet is, you know, not changing fast enough to keep up with, you know, human induced climate change, you know, actually that is a huge decision. And even, you know, in my lifestyle, you know, I'm not flying anymore, and I try and grow fruit and vegetables on my little, you know, in my garden, you know, to try and do my part, you know, to yeah, so all decisions
Mm.
in the long term will be climate induced decisions or
What
climate
we're
related.
saying is, if you as a teacher are not engaging with this, you know, it's a big chunk of people's thinking and part of their lives. You know, if you in your teaching are not engaging with this, that's a big part that you're missing out on. And so it's important to sort of weave this throughout. The next why might be, and we think of it as more of a secondary one, you know, we think the moral is the bit at the beginning, and then it's, well, okay, what's expected of us professionally? And so increasingly there is more and more expected from the Department for Education. Meryl, there's three key initiatives, isn't there,
There's
that the
three key
government is
initiatives that
doing?
the Department of Education, so they have a climate and sustainability strategy. It is being reviewed, and we know the curriculum is also being reviewed. But the main three strands that can provide help: climate ambassadors can come into your school if you sign up with STEM Learning. There's the Climate Ambassador Hub, and you know, local people from business or charities, from other educators can come into your school to help. There is the Sustainability Support Hub, which provides resources. I prefer ours, but hey, I'm biased. And then there are the
Education Nature Park,
education,
led by
yes,
Natural
national
History
education,
Museum and the RHS. Yeah,
national
those are the three.
education nature
And
park.
then there are, you know, other kind of periphery, other things in the
Yeah,
space
Let's
as
Go
well,
Zero is a huge
with
one,
particularly
helping.
climate action plans as an emphasis for people to have this pathway to net zero. But I think what we would say is that curriculum really is the core of what we think. You know, it's the fundamental of what a school's doing. It's the day to day. It's the thing that every young person experiences whilst at the school. And so we really wanted to emphasize this sense that there is like a jigsaw. We've put together this diagram that helps kind of bring it to life. That it's all kind of interlinked, it's all complementary, and there's this wealth of organizations who are often providing free support. And it's the sort of thing that I know teachers struggle in terms of having capacity, so many different priorities, but there really is no excuse not to accept this sort of support and help. There are people out there
Well,
with yeah.
the government's strategy says that all schools should have a sustainability lead by the end of 2025. So this term, effectively, if you haven't got one already, your school is expected to have one. And as the curriculum changes, as the DfE address some of these gaps in the curriculum, it's likely that that role is going to be really quite important to help teachers across the school take sustainability and put it into the ethos of the school. That should be driven down by senior leadership as well.
Yeah, it's about having a kind of a whole school strategy approach and for it to be a shared responsibility as well, because I'm sure people watching this might be they think of themselves as the kind of one person in the school who's got that responsibility, but actually it's something that every teacher should be considering.
And even up to governors, local authorities. You know, there's a bigger picture, you know,
Yeah.
being drawn out, and the landscape is changing. But definitely changes is happening now.
And I think the other thing that this diagram illustrates is that sense that we think of sustainability in its broadest sense, that yes, carbon and climate action plans is part of that, but equally the curriculum. And then also to be truly sustainable, you need to engage with the local community. And you might be doing that, but not considering it as part of sustainability. Could be through a wildlife trust, school, visits. It could be inviting in the local community. But the other piece as well is that forest schools and outdoor learning. There's been this growth over the last few years in interest around forest schools, but also weaving that throughout the rest of the curriculum and understanding that it should be part of everything.
There's a huge network of people providing support into schools to try and, green your school in terms of your school grounds, in terms of purchasing, in terms of the curriculum, loads and loads of support. And one of the things we do as the Ministry of Eco-Education is try and rationalise that and make it more simple.
Yeah, so what we've done as a group of teachers with kind of different interests and specialisms and age groups and all those sorts of things is share our experience and bring it together by finding all of the different free resources and opportunities from hundreds of organizations. And rather than just being a website that is a sort of database of those and sort of allows you to go and explore them yourself, we've tried to add value by weaving them together into series of what we call learning journeys framed by big questions. And we use 7 key themes to help try and give a bit of a structure to what can be quite a vague statement around sustainability. What do we really mean by sustainability? So we've got these 7 key themes. And actually, Meryl, there's a bit of a hierarchy to them, isn't there?
There is. So the 7 themes are energy, food, nature, society, transport, waste, and water. Now, the ones that impact, the main areas of those that impact our climate the most severely are energy, where we get our energy from, our food, how we make our food and grow our food, and also transport, how we get around. Actually, if you look at your climate action plan for school, a lot of those impacts will be down to transport, how people are travelling around to get to school and also on school trips. And so if we tackle those three, that's great. But it's bigger than that. We know that, water, waste, nature and society have huge implications for not only our own well-being but also our role in society, and our impact on society, our impact on our environment. So there is a little bit of a hierarchy, but they're all, those 7 themes. It's the thing that pulled me into the Ministry of Eco-Education right at the very start. Was one of the questions was, what does it take to make a cup of tea? And actually, it's hugely complicated when you start to break it down. A great question to ask young people, and one that actually in the energy section because of transport and because of international trade and things, but it impacts on all of them.
So the Ministry of Eco-Education framework, informed by the Green Britain Group, by Dale Vince, lots of the businesses who are making a Green Britain right now. So that's kind of informing that structure and helping us to kind of create that. But the key thing then is there's a website with loads of learning journeys framed by big questions, so series of lessons. They're designed to be flexible, inspiration for you to be able to take a few activities, to take a whole question, a whole series of lessons. It's up to you, but it's there to get you thinking more and reflecting on your teaching.
Absolutely, and it's hugely flexible, so you can just dip in and out. You don't need to do a whole series. The series of big questions all have about 8 different lessons below them, but you can just pick and choose. And we link out to resources that are incredible. We haven't created all of the individual resources. We link out to the wildlife trusts or the RSPB or organisations who really know their field, and so we've built lessons, a whole program, a scheme of work around some fantastic resources for you to use in your classrooms.
Okay, so primary teachers, we've got 3 steps for you to help kind of along your journey. So step one, Meryl.
Step one is map what you have. Now, we could say map what you've got against sustainability, but that doesn't really, that word sustainability doesn't necessarily mean it. So what we've said is map it against where in your curriculum across all the year groups are you covering energy? We know that it's in year 6 science, for example, but where else does it come in? Where else have you talked about electricity use and things? Transport, food, waste, water, society, and nature. But so you can pick out the main themes that we cover and then say where they are. Now, that would be a huge job for one person to look through all of the schemes of work and all of the curriculum for all the year groups. So get everybody involved, set it up as a shared document, and say, right, who's talking about what, where, when, with each year group, and that can really help map, because you're probably actually doing quite a lot already.
Yeah, it's all about setting up a baseline, isn't it? You can't really step forwards unless you know where you're at the moment. And so, yeah, understanding, and also that feeds into that shared responsibility, doesn't it? It's not just one person, it's actually across different.
Even yeah, even as a sustainability lead, that is a huge role, quite often with not much time and no extra money. So a huge role for someone to take on. So everybody should be expected to be, to be part of it.
Okay, so step two is there's a particular emphasis on early years with this one. There's new framework that's just come out, which provides so much opportunity to weave climate and nature education throughout. And actually, we've done a special YouTube kind of online event that you can access on our YouTube channel with this. And I just want to reference some of the stuff that Hannah, our early years specialist, has sort of highlighted here. She said that the focus is on high quality interactions in a language rich environment and particularly learning through play. And she said play is essential for children's development, building their confidence as they learn to explore, relate to others, set their own goals, and solve problems. And actually, that's a quote from that document. And if you really look at that and you kind of interpret it, that links so well with aspects of the climate and nature, kind of responding to the climate and nature crisis. And also through the early years curriculum, you can focus on things like the prime areas of communication and language, physical development, and personal, social, and emotional development, and also that understanding of the world as real pillars to be able to hang that climate and nature aspect. So do explore that video if you're an early years specialist, and also there's a whole wealth of early years kind of planning and learning journeys for you there. Step three.
Step three, build your network. We had an amazing teacher celebration last summer, and it was just evident there that there are so many enthusiastic teachers, and all of us have got our little niches that we work in, and there's a huge array of different organisations that can support education in schools. So when I first started, I sort of felt very, very alone in my classroom. I started talking about sustainability and the Sustainable Development Goals, which we've linked all of the Ministry of Eco Education curriculum to now. But it felt very lonely, and it was only when I actually started reaching out, meeting Paul, meeting other people from the UK School Sustainability Network way back when, setting up things like WhatsApp groups. We've got our own Ministry of Eco Education WhatsApp group that we'd love more people to be involved with, because we share what's going on, different CPD that's available, not just from us, but from other people. And so it's about finding your niche, finding who can help you, who can support you, and how you can help the wider community. Because schools, as sustainable community hubs, is a really great idea that can bring and send ripples out into the wider
Yeah.
region.
So I guess what we're saying is that support, that network could be someone else within your school. It could be within the local community. It could be an environmental organisation. It could be in your subject specialism or your particular area of interest. It might be that it is in a bigger network like the National Education Union. And what we also wanted to just emphasise is the National Education Union has this year voted for a year of climate action, and there's a whole series of events that they're going to be hosting. And also in March, there's a special festival that's happening in London. So look out, the NEU.
Yeah, they also have green reps courses. So
Mhm,
if you're struggling as a new sustainability lead and you want training in how to get your school to address purchasing, the school grounds, the curriculum, and think it's a bit too much, there's some really great training that they offer.
mhm. And if you are someone who is kind of, I guess, like success orientated, or you need something to work towards, there's always the opportunity that you can become a Ministry of Eco-Education accredited school. And to do that, it's a completely free process. And actually, you just need to submit through an online form some evidence that you've probably already got in terms of your planning, just to show how you as a school are weaving sustainability across your curriculum. So you get this special certificate and kind of kudos of being a special, yeah, school. But that's something you might want to work towards.
I'm always in it for things like that can really raise the profile. It can impact on parents. You can get parents involved in things in schools if they because there's this green movement is huge, and there are people who can support you, and you can help the wider community. So by promoting your school as a Ministry of Eco Education school would be great. Let's welcome you in and celebrate you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.